Okay. Hi everyone, my name is Tolu Ade. Welcome to another edition of Manifest Hub, where we help young adults and young adult leaders build and cultivate and engage in young adults ministry and also give you tools for life. Yeah? Good. All right. So today we are going to be talking about fasting. Fasting. Yes, I just said it. Fasting. Why should you fast? When should you fast? So today's topic is fasting for beginners. First things first, why should we fast? It's expected of us. What do you mean it's expected of us? Well, Jesus himself, because he can be like, oh, Old Testament, but New Testament, Jesus came and Jesus himself said a few things in the book of Matthew, Matthew 2, Matthew 6. He was talking about a few things. So, and if you look at his verbiage, he said when you fast. So, not if you fast. So, if means something might happen or it might not happen. When is like, it's gonna happen for sure, right? It's guaranteed to happen. So there's a purposeful use of word there, which is when. So the Christian journey is designed in such a way that you're going to be required to fast at some point. So you might not be fasting right now, you might not feel the need to fast. That is cool. But as long as you're going to decide to be a Christian, there's going to be a time where you would have to fast. That's just the way things are designed. That's why Jesus said when. So Matthew 6, 16. So Matthew 6, let me look at it. Matthew 6, 2. So this is just like teaching about giving, right? So giving, you would have to, because Matthew 6, 2 says when you give, which means you kind of have, like it would happen at some point. Matthew 6, 5 said when you pray. So that's one of the things that is expected of us as a Christian. When. And then verse 16 says, and when you fast. So Jesus, gives us a clue to let us know that it's going to be required of us at some point. Now, when should I fast? When should I when are those times that, the Bible or Jesus kind of gives me a clue to say it's going to be expected of me at some point in my Christian journey? How do I recognize when those seasons are? So before I go into that, first things first, what should be your composure or what should be your attitude when you're going through a fast or when you're undergoing a fast? Isaiah 58, 3-9 really talks about our composure, like our outlook, our the things that we need to keep in mind when we're fasting. Some of them is that we should give to the poor. Some of them is that we shouldn't go around looking all drabby, people asking us, what's wrong with you? Are you okay? Right? So it gives us what our attitude should be. So read that, Isaiah 58, 3-9. So quickly, let's move into, I didn't want to forget stuff, so I always write stuff down so I don't forget. When we should fast. So number one reason or number one season in my life that I really feel like, okay, I need a fast is when I feel like I need to draw a little bit closer to God. Not that God is away, he's running away. God never moves from us. But sometimes because of the things we do, as in like we get so busy with life, we get a little bit distracted sometimes, and we tend to just kind of draw away from him. So he's still there. He still would, the Bible says, call unto me and I'll answer. It's still there. Like he's going to answer you every time, right? But sometimes we just kind of draw away from him. So one of the reasons or seasons where I fast is when I feel like I need to draw close to God and humble myself. So, fasting humbles you, right? Because number one, your body hasn't eaten, like it hasn't gotten food. So it just kind of like, yeah, right? So it humbles you. It's a way for us to humble ourselves before God, and especially when we're seeking his help. So when you're fasting, it's not like you're fasting to change God's mind. You're fasting to just be like, hey, God, I'm just drawing close to you. I want to know what you're saying in this season, right? So an example of that is Esther. Esther humbled herself. David did that as well. When, remember he went to like take Uriah's wife, Bathsheba, and had sex with her, and then she was pregnant. Ooh, drama. So he killed the husband, and then David is just, that guy is trifling, but you know what, he always knows how to catch the heart of Jesus. And he killed the man and took his wife because she's pregnant now because he had sex with her. And then there's a point where the child was sick and was at the point of death, and David was fasting to just kind of number one, mourn, and also to just be repentant, right? Like, because God called him out. It's like, yo, you did this, right? So David's an example of somebody that humbled himself before God and fasted. Number two, Why should you fast? So some people, I feel like they feel like, oh my gosh, people that fast, they're so strong. No, they're the weakest ever. Because when you fast, you're acknowledging your weakness, spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally. Oh my gosh, there's like when I fast, there are times when I know I need a fast, so I need to get into it when I'm just done. Like I'm just weak, right? So fasting is for the weak, and there's nothing wrong in admitting that you're weak, because what comes out of fasting is that you exchange your weakness for strength in the presence of God. So that's really amazing. Which so yeah, fasting strengthens you, and Paul had to do a lot of that because Paul went through a lot, so he had to always renew his strength in the place of fasting. Number three, fasting increases our faith, um especially when we're waiting for a fulfillment of a promise or a prophecy. So if there's been a prophecy that was spoken to you a long long time ago, just because prophecy came out does not mean it's just going to automatically happen. That's not how it works, right? There are some things where there's God's sovereignty is just gonna make it happen for sure, right? But in most cases, like prophecy is just to give us a insight of what's to happen in the future. But not but, and we need to, by prayer and fasting, birth it. So an example of that is the coming of the Messiah. Like Isaiah prophesied about it. A bunch of people prophesied about it. I can't remember their names now, but a lot of prophets prophesied about it, that the Messiah is coming. That is Jesus Christ. But there were still people like Hannah, in Luke 2, 36 to 37, or like, yeah, about Luke 2, 36 to 37. The Bible talks about her spending day and night in the temple in prayers and fasting, because she heard about this prophecy and she really wanted the Messiah to come, and she was one of those intercessors that God put in place to pray and fast the prophecies to life. So, okay, so it increases your faith, especially when you're waiting for a promise, especially when it doesn't look like it, like your surroundings don't look like it. Get into prayer and fasting to bring prophecy to life, or bring God's fulfillment of promises to life, and strengthens your faith when it looks like it's not gonna happen. Okay, that is number three. And number four, finally, when should you fast? If you're trying to make a really important decision. Every decision is important, but there are some that are weightier matters that you need to, like, you just can't make it like just like that anyhow, right? One of those ones, like for young adults especially, is marriage, because it means you're taking a bet on this person. You don't know if they're going to be crazy tomorrow. You don't know if they're crazy right now, but they're just hiding it. Like, you just don't know. Anything can happen, right? Like, you haven't seen the future. You have not been there. So marriage is an important one. An important one could be maybe making a decision, like for maybe people that have children, making a decision on behalf of your children that that's going to make or mar their lives, right? That's a one. Making a decision of maybe where to work. That could be a really important one, especially when you have like family members. So let's say, you got a new job like in some far away country, right? And that means separation from your family. That means going into uncharted territories. That means a bunch of different things. There are a lot of unknowns, right? So you would want to engage in fasting when you feel like you need God's wisdom and God's direction. A really important one is that in the Bible, an example is the apostles in Acts 13 and 14, when they were, remember after Judas Iscariot did what he had to do and, killed himself or whatever, they had to replace him, right? So they're trying to choose which apostle will replace him. And, the Bible talks about they prayed and fasted to, ask God for direction as to who, because don't nobody want another Judas, right? So that would be a reason why, or a season, or when you know that you should get into a fast. So those are really the four things to draw close and humble yourself before God when you're weak. Number three is to increase your faith, especially when you're waiting for fulfillment of a promise or a prophecy. And finally, number four is to get wisdom and direction from God when you're making a mega huge decision. Okay. Finally, when you're fasting, what should you do? So I'm going to give you a few tips when you're fasting, okay? That will really help you in fasting. What should you do? What does it look like? So when you're fasting, or when you want to fast, start small and increase gradually. Okay, so if you've never fasted before, again, this is fasting for beginners. If you've never fasted before and you're like, you're telling me not to eat for a period of time, start small so you can decide, you know what, I'm going to fast breakfast, right? So don't have breakfast. So fast between your waking hour and noon. So you can end at noon so you can have lunch. So start from there. Or you can maybe push a little bit further and fast at 3 p.m. Most fast is like from sunrise to sundown, sunset, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. So you can decide to do the 6 p.m. and then, or you can decide to do more than a day, right? So start small and increase it gradually. Number 2 would be regular about it. So you want to get yourself in, not make it like a routine kind of thing, but get yourself into the habit of fasting, because food is like eating is a habit. So, right? So it's almost like you're replacing a habit with an habit. You can't get rid of an habit. You have to replace it with something, because when you're not doing that habit, you're doing something else. Make sense? Okay. So be regular. So one of the ways you can be regular is, regular reminds me of something else. Anyways, one of the ways you can be regular is by choosing a day of the week. So you get yourself into the habit of fasting every week. So one of the things I've heard, like, as a new Christian, my pastor then would say, choose the day you were born, right? Because it's easier to remember. Not like your birthday every year, no. So if you're born on a Monday or on a Tuesday, on a Wednesday, on a Friday, or whatever. So for example, I was born on a Saturday. Right, so my fasting day would be Saturdays. But then I saw that, okay, my Saturdays, it's just not, like, I wouldn't be able to really maximize fasting, because Saturdays, there's usually a lot of things happening, like, outings, engagements, and things to do, which, again, remember, fasting is not just abstinence from food. It's you're replacing that eating time with something. So if I'm replacing my eating time, and if it's supposed to be a spiritual fast, it should be replacing it with spiritual things, right? Which gets into the next point, which is to plan what you're going to do during the fast. So, I decided to change mine to Monday, so that way I can make use of my time to do spiritual things. So some of the spiritual things would be praying. So you're praying more, you're reading or studying your scriptures more, you're listening to messages. So let's say that day you would want to listen to messages about faith, right? So you're going to look for messages, listen to messages about faith, or start a Bible plan or complete a Bible plan. So those are some of the spiritual activities you can do and feed your spirit with while you're fasting. And number 4 is to identify the purpose of the fast. I would actually even say this should be number 1 or 2, thereabouts. Identify the purpose of the fast. So why are you fasting? So for example, most specifically in the weekly fast, where you're doing 1 day a week, you can decide, okay, maybe you can do it weekly, you can do it monthly. So maybe in the month of March, I feel like I need to grow in faith. Remember, one of the ways to increase, like, one of the benefits of a spiritual fast is that it increases your faith. I want to grow in faith. Then it means, like, the Bible plans you're reading is going to be about faith. The words you're reading is going to be about faith. So you have a purpose for it. So that way your mind is aligned to it. You're not tempted to just kind of do whatever or lollygag about it, right? Okay, so a number 5 fasting tip is that you are going to get hungry, because your stomach has gone to the habit of eating. So then it means when it's lunchtime or breakfast, it's going to, like, and you haven't eaten breakfast, after a while it's going to growl a little bit and say, dude, like, ma'am, can you please put something in there? When your stomach growls, don't be tempted. I know that used to happen to me, like, during lunch. It still happens sometimes. Like, after lunchtime, my stomach is, like, doing some wiggly. And then, I'll be tempted to be like, okay, I'll just break at 3. But then initially, my goal was to break at 6 p.m. But because my stomach was growling. So when I discovered this fasting tip, I maximized it. So when your stomach growls, just drink water. Because then you're feeding it with something, but just not what it wants, right? So when your stomach growls, it's really just the gastric acid is being released to break down the food. Because remember, it's a habit. Your brain knows, around 1 p.m. she eats lunch, let me release gastric juices to break down the food that's coming its way. So when there's no food that comes its way, acid is just in your stomach. And what does acid do? Acid burns, right? So when it's burning your stomach, that's when your stomach is growling. So what you do, you drink water, and what does the water do? It dissolves or dilutes the acid. Science, right? Yeah, I should do chemistry. So really, it's really not that complicated. Once you understand what to look out for, once you understand what to do, it becomes really easy. So I hope those tips have really helped you. In this, I know there are some people fasting right now. Again, like I said, there are going to be seasons in your life where you would have to fast, or where you need to fast. Again, God's not gonna force you to do anything, but there's going to be seasons where you will need to fast. So I really hope this fasting for beginners would really help you. If you have any questions, put them below. I am going to be doing a video soon about prolonged or dry fasting for beginners. So this one is just really about, the 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. fast, or 6 a.m. to 12 noon or 3. But the next video that I'm going to be doing is prolonged fasting, and that's just really when you're doing like a 3-day fast, or 7-day fast, or 21-day fast, or 40-day fast. Nobody fasts more than 40 days. That would just be starvation, right? So where you go without food for those prolonged times. So look out for that. If you haven't yet subscribed, what are you waiting for? Subscribe. Share this video with your people. Share this video with people that you think it's going to be useful for. And I continue to look forward to serving you more and more in this ministry. Happy fasting!